Welcome in, guys. My name is Yao A. Owusu Jr., your resident vitality consultant. To my left, I have Nicholas Lopez Jr., and to my right, Andre Bibbins Jr. We are together, the Vitality Handbook. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. We're talking about Season 3, sleep. How does it help our journey on vitality or wellness, whatever you like, fitness? How does that help? We're going to start off with Mr. Dre. So when it comes to sleep, sir, what do we got to tell the people?
Honestly, I put that up there with out of all the pillars, number one.
Woo! You said
Number
this. You
one.
said this before. You said
Number
this
one.
before too.
Yeah, number one,
Said
man.
this
I
before,
gotta
too.
go number one. I just don't, especially as we age. I'm 56 now. I'm joking. At least I feel that way when I do not get sleep.
Huh.
Or you feel super old. So
For sure.
and old isn't a bad thing.
Right.
But yeah, I just don't feel right. I personally can't function. I just don't like the way I feel. Incident that happened, not with me, someone, close to me, was having issues, right? Hallucinating and going through all this, crazy stuff. And they told me, it was like, man, I ain't sleeping 3 days, sleep plus not eating right, plus all the other stuff that comes along with that, and even working, right? Overworking, whatever. But
Sure.
if you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to overwork regardless.
For sure.
Right? The first thing I said, I'm like, number one is when I don't get sleep, and I'm not in your situation. When I don't get sleep, I hear stuff. I'm like, did someone say it? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like you start hearing,
Sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me.
you start having these, I want to say weird thoughts, but like you just can't think correctly.
For sure, man.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I would just say for me, sleep is number one. And when I don't get enough sleep, I just feel like you can't, and it's hard to make up sleep. Right? You could kind of make up for lack of nutrition, lack of exercise. Lack of sleep is like, it's just terrible.
Yeah. I've been going back and forth when I'm talking about the pillars, and as we were developing them, and it was always, at first it was mindset, nutrition, sleep. I was like, okay, that's wrong. Sleep has to be above that. And then it was like, man, sleep and mindset. Like, if you don't have sleep, your mindset's done. I'm still going to put mindset first just because you need to understand yourself. And I'm including the self within the mindset. You might not. That's just how we arrange it. But sleep is definitely, I would say, if mindset's 1, sleep is 1A, right? It's like right there. Yeah, for sure. I can go with that. And sleep deprivation, people don't understand. Like one of the number one killers in the world is being deprived of sleep. Something that we should do naturally as human beings, as organic creatures. And some of us purposely do not sleep because we want to grind it out, because we want to work. And people don't understand is you're not going to be able to cash in that work if you're not coherent, if you're not recovering certain things that you only can recover when you're in sleep, when you're getting good sleep. So, Mr. Nicholas, take us on a spin on the journey of sleep. I know you got a lot to say about this.
I definitely.
He's like, no, I do not.
No, I always have, we spend a lot of time thinking about this.
Right.
I think that's something the audience can count on when they tune in, is that we literally spend more time than you thinking about this.
For sure.
And that's not a judgment statement. It's just we just spend a lot of time thinking about this. But what gives us credibility to talk about sleep is like in the moment, like what gives us the credibility to talk about sleep. Before I get into what I was inspired by from Dre's message and your message, because I can snap into it. What gives us credibility to talk about sleep? I want to frame that for the audience, and even whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Instagram, what gives us that credibility? And I just sent you a message earlier saying that our voice is real, or we're the voice of the real in an era that fake news gets more attention, more money, more et cetera, in the short term. I put the ...
Yes, sir.
I put the ... specifically for Yao, because I know that's a trademark of Yao's
It is.
communication.
3 dots.
is The ...
3 dots.
So I put the ... and said in the short term. So with that in mind, how can we frame a credibility statement? And this is, shout out to your pops, because he was a great public speaker. I took a public speaking class in college, and one of the first things the structure that I learned was, first you establish your, something to hook the audience in,
Okay.
and then you go into a credibility statement.
For sure.
So I'm curious to hear your perspective from your world on what gives us credibility to talk about sleep.
I mean, I look at it like this. If you've heard the book by Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point, we talk about 10,000 hours. You put in those 10,000 hours. I've been studying sleep with clients, not online, nothing wrong with online, but in person, epi studies, meaning I'm making programs, I'm watching them progress. If this worked, I've been doing that since 2005. So I've put in my 10,000 hours plus of studying this stuff, doing on myself, doing with my clients, doing with other coaches, doing with corporations. So that's where I believe all credibility comes into experience. The number one thing for credibility is not what your certifications say. It's what have you done with your certifications on the field. And I've done more than 10,000 hours of on the field searching and researching and experimenting with sleep. From taking naps, from not taking naps, from staying up and fasting, from sleeping around 2 o'clock in the morning and kind of sleeping for 8 hours and seeing what works for me. So that's what gives me the credibility. I mean, you can say my accolades from all my certifications, but that means nothing to me. Maybe it means something to you, is what have you done in the field when it comes to programming for sleep or implementing sleep programming? Yeah.
I was going to say similar. Basically, we live this lifestyle. Simple as that. So he basically said a lot of it, but basically we live the lifestyle. This is the lifestyle we live.
For real.
It's like, we know 4 hours of sleep, you kind of put in your head like, got a long day today, or, I got to power through this, because we know that lack of sleep. We need to tap into another mindset, another source of energy.
100%.
So I would say we're in the actual field. We applying stuff. We experiment, just like y'all said, man. We're in the lifestyle. It's simple as that. We live this lifestyle. What else more do you want?
No, that's it. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm still remembering the initial messages you guys mentioned, so I want to definitely cover that before we go into the next topic. But what you said, I mean, you great job, always. I mean, Yao could always deliver. Dre, you said something that got me thinking, which is lifestyle, right? I feel that there may be a confusion. Remember, this is a platform for empowering individuals for self-awareness, for generational health.
For sure.
This is our platform, right? So when Dre mentioned this is our platform, you want to take a moment to say that, which is dope, right?
Come on,
which is dope.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
But Andre's
Yes,
and Andre's part, when you mentioned lifestyle, it reminded me that there's maybe a confusion. You're 100% right. We spend. This is a lifestyle. This is our life. This is our livelihood and our life. It's not like, in both those instances, we are aware of sleep. So even when we hear scientific studies, we then use that to maybe expand our empathy. And I want to cover empathy in a second, so please help me remember that.
Okay.
But Dre, there's maybe a confusion with the lifestyle that we are living and we're promoting, we're helping others, that we've had the privilege to earn above average living in New York City. We've had the privilege of that by being aware of how these things like sleep affect people's lifestyle. But when you said lifestyle, what came in my mind is like, hold on, what lifestyle are you talking about? I know what lifestyle you're talking about, but then I realized even the influencers out there, is this a lifestyle you're pursuing? Being ostentatious, being flashy, being a capitalist, which is completely different, where you're showing off what your wealth has enabled you to acquire? Or is this a lifestyle of what we're talking about, which is showing people what our health has allowed us to acquire? And I think there's a confusion where, like, okay, Dre, there's no Rolex on the wrist, so why am I going to listen to Dre talk about sleep, or y'all talk about, there's muscles, but I'm starting to see muscles everywhere, and I don't know if they're taking juice or not. I don't know if they're taking Sunny D or vitamin D. So real quick, Dre, what lifestyle are you talking about before I go back to Yao on something that he said earlier that sparked interest and empathy for both y'all?
We're speaking about the lifestyle of changing other people's lives. That's the lifestyle we're talking about in the, whatever you want, the fitness industry, wellness industry, however you want to slice it. That's the lifestyle we're talking about. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say anything different from what he's talking about. We're transformation. That's the lifestyle. We're in the lifestyle of transforming ourselves to be better every day, and to transform our people that listen to us or we get encounter with, to transform their journey on wellness. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you lead with transformation and value results instead of valuing entertainment and flashy things, well, we can see the difference. We can see the difference. Who burns out at 30?
Ooh.
Who burns out at 35, at 40? I'm 42.
Like you said, all those ages, who burned out and who has to take longer breaks? Who has to come back from, adversity because entertainment-wise, not adversity because they have the world on their shoulders and taking care of families and have to lead families and multiple families, multiple people. We help others, like not just our families, but helping others, right, to help teach their family 100%. And implement what we do into their household as well.
100%.
So I would keep it off at that.
I want to ask you specifically this question, which is, we initiated this conversation as far as the audience following along on my curiosity on how each of us would frame our credibility to talk about sleep. We have multiple sleep episodes. Go check those out for, you edit that part out. Go check those out. On Yao's part, my empathy bubble I talk about like empathy bubbles. Like that's something that was a life lesson that I've learned recently. We always know it, but this is something I experienced. My empathy bubble has gone from maybe like a 1 mile radius to like a 1,000,000 mile radius. My question to you, Yao, is someone who, relating to sleep, right? Can you take us through how, even though someone has a lot of experience in the lab per se, in the lab with sleep, their experience with sleep, but their empathy bubble is maybe not as big as yours because you have interacted with not only a lab environment, you've interacted with the context of sleep with people, with new moms, with busy CEOs, with celebrities. So your empathy bubble is bigger even if, maybe you have 5 years less experience. So how does empathy, when it comes to, we could finesse how sleep comes into this, but how does empathy affect someone's experience? That claim of, that you use that example, that scientist got 10 years experience, small empathy bubble, but you got 5 years experience, but a bigger empathy bubble.
Yeah, I mean, my experience level is 10 years plus doing this pertaining to sleep, programming for sleep, which is not a lot compared to other sleep experts. But like you said, on the ground, when you're actually programming for a mother of two, when you're actually programming for a CEO that has a company of 150 employees, when you're actually programming for a firefighter, a police officer, a celebrity that's on stage for 3 hours at a time and 2 nights during the week, when you're actually programming for these people in different scenarios, you're going to empathize with a wider range of people. So it just makes sense that I'm going to understand, if you will, or feel what they feel so I can program better. So just because you know about sleep or the alpha brain waves or the beta brain waves or the REM rapid eye movement and adenosine helping, just because you know all of that doesn't mean you know how to program or help people transform themselves through sleep hygiene, which is a big, big difference. You can know your sleep patterns on a Whoop watch, but it's not telling you or feeling, like Nick said, that empathy factor of, I have done this before, here is a solution for you. And that's where we're lacking. We have all the information in the world, all the information at your fingertips, but we don't know what to do with it because we have never transformed anyone through that pillar of sleep. And that's one thing, my experience, whether it's 10 years, whether someone that has 50 years of it, have you been on the ground and have you actually transformed someone through that sleep pillar?
That was dope. I have a question for you too, Dre. Yao, that was great. That was a great frame. In listening to what you were saying, what came to mind was, just because you know doesn't mean you understand. Where I want to go with this platform, or just ideas of like what one of the core pillars of this platform, which is everybody else is spending time on helping people know things, but they're not helping people understand things
Or experience things.
which we believe you can only truly understand through some form of experience. So that's what popped out. Dre mentioned adversity, and that was great that you mentioned that, because what's been burning in my heart and like my soul, like I made a transition recently where I'm not working on anything that doesn't understand that fire that's in my spirit and my soul. I can't do it. I can't. I'm too privileged not to be doing that. I can't. This would be a disservice to everybody. It'd be a disservice to Yao, it'd be a disservice to Dre, it'd be a disservice to my clients, it'd be a disservice to my family. I cannot. I can't afford to do it.
No.
I'm already chosen. We were already chosen. We already made it here. Like genetically speaking, everybody who talks about the genetics of what's the chances of the sperm.
Yeah, for sure.
We were already chosen. Okay, so take it all the way, which we're about to take it all the way. People talk about sleep, right? But how about that single mom who has 2 kids, maybe, and 2 jobs. So we have all the we have all the lab coats, we have all the influencers getting rewarded for spewing out information, for getting people to know something, but she doesn't understand that. Multiple people who are dealing with adversity, they don't understand those facts, even though they got 1 million followers, even though they got 30 years in the lab studying sleep and how the cells, right? They speak in a language that they may know they're talking, but this person who's dealing with adversity, they may, now they know something, but they don't understand it. So Dre, because you mentioned adversity, what's your response? What do you feel about that? What do you feel about the difference between knowing and understanding, especially for those people dealing with adversity? And that's what I meant by one of the core pillars of this platform. It's like, now we got to make sure everybody understands. And we got to make sure that you don't forget anybody like you've done forgotten people for the past 200 years. We're not going to forget nobody. That's our job. To have empathy is part of our job. That's what you don't understand. But go ahead, Dre.
Man, I feel that.
I mean, it's a tough question. I want to say not to answer, but to speak about, because it's going to go against certain things, but it is what it is. Give me a scenario.
Let's say in New York Times or Time Magazine, the cover comes up with breaking news, 8 hours of sleep is non-negotiable. Okay, and then, she may go into work and all the executives are talking about, did you hear about this? Or this influencer with 1 million followers drops a post that goes viral. 7 hours of sleep is non-negotiable. It does wonders. It allowed me to secure this and that.
A lot of these people are bullshitting you. A lot of these people, they're just putting out content just to put out content, right? And when we're speaking for those who has two jobs, it can't, sometimes you just gotta work hard and grind it out and find your way for naps, find your way for sleeps, until you make it to a point where you can actually get in those 7 hours of sleep and really program your day. I would say sometimes, not sometimes, but we need to just be realistic and understand that you got to work hard at times. And sometimes sleep is going to be sacrificed. And it is what it is. And there's nothing that we can do about that, right? Until it's time for us till we, like I said, make it to where we make it, or, have a week's vacation. And, not everyone is privileged to even the people that's billionaires or millionaires. You think they're getting in 8-9 hours of sleep? Nah, they doing exactly like the single mother, single father. Let's not leave out the fathers. Or the father's got to wake up and got to go to work and drop the kids off, 100%. And they got to go to work, and they're working together as a household, as a unit. You know what I mean? So let's not forget that. And we need to learn that sometimes there's going to be a grind and there's going to be a struggle. And then when it's time for us to get that 8 hours of sleep, 7 hours of sleep, take advantage of it. Let's put it that way, right? So I would say that's the best way, that could be answered. You know what I mean? Like I said before, you have your millionaires and your billionaires, or whoever, thousandaires, whoever. Those people, it's similar as well as the mom or the dad or whatever. It's the same exact thing, except their lifestyle was just different. It's just a different lifestyle. You know what I mean? And then they'll find a time to get their sleep in, and they know, man, I'm running up for 4 hours of sleep. I had to take the red eye. I had to travel from here, get here, do my workout, sleep. But the thing is that they have a mission. And when you have a mission and you have a focus and you have a goal, you'll do without sleep in a sense. You get what I'm saying? You'll be able to function without sleep in a sense, because your drive and your mission is driving, okay. And it could be a mind thing too. It could be, I know I have 4 hours of sleep. I have to make this 4 hours of sleep count. And when I get up, I'm going at it. And I'm not thinking of sleep like that in a sense, because I think the focus and the drives take over that. And we've all been there. Mm-hmm. We've all been there. And that's what I mean about people that's just putting out content just to put out content to do what? Empathy, emotionally, to get to grab the people, to speak to people that they can't even relate to. Mm-hmm. They're just putting it out for content just to just get followers and views, if we're being realistic about it. You know what I mean? That same mother or father or whoever that's putting out that content or speaking to those individuals, they're not even living that lifestyle. They're just putting out the content because that's what getting them views and followers or whatever, or even if they're not getting views and followers, it's giving them something to talk about. It's a trend. They're hopping on trends and just say whatever out of their mouth. So
you see that all the time when you're reading magazines or something's posted mm-hmm. here, or everything is trend. Someone hears mm-hmm. this, it's sensationalized, yep. It's going to grab your attention. So when you're looking at different studies, like Nick was saying, hypothetical study in the New York Times, which happens all the time, or looking at different influencers or just putting out information just to do it, they don't have that, and they might have empathy as a narcissist, right? They'll be able to attach onto it and make you seem like they are empathizing with you, but they're not really feeling it for you, right? And that's where I believe, in my estimation, what true empathy comes from. I feel you. I feel your experience, all right? And I empathize with you. I'm like, okay, we're going to go on this together. I'm really listening. I'm really taking care. So we do that, and the only way you can kind of decipher from that is look at their lifestyle. Have they been posting this? Do they have receipts of this? Have they been doing this for the last 3 years, like we have, or 2.5 years? How many years? It's been a while, right? You can check our receipts and see what time it is, all right? So we understand that. Now, when we're getting to sleep, there are going to be some times where there'll be what we call SOS situations. Check out some of our episodes. You might get 4 hours. Oh, that's it. I don't have to worry about sleep anymore. No. That's where you are at the time, but you know what you need, right? Oh, I didn't get my supplements in. I didn't get this in. Okay, I'm done with nutrition. No, that's where you're at right now. So when we're talking about someone in an SOS situation, meaning they need help, they need milk, 2 jobs, mom, what is the advice you would give? We'll go to Nick first, then we'll go to Dre next. What would be the advice, whether it's personal, professional, you could take the empathy route, whatever route you would want. What would be the advice for that person to start focusing on or prioritizing, or why should they prioritize, or how can they prioritize sleep to help them optimize their vitality, or just to help them recover or play with the kids, or however it's going to help them?
I would say to create like a mental filter for what aspect of sleep is going to give them the biggest cognitive boost. Because we have some tips like lemon water before bed, because alkalinity can be related to better sleep quality.
Correct.
Basically, how does your digestion affect your sleep?
Okay.
All right. So basically, that's what it comes down to, right?
Okay.
Is having a good digestive process before sleep give me a better cognitive boost than maybe having a cool room, having a lower temperature in the room? Is it temperature or is it digestion? I'm saying in an SOS environment, when it's like you're down to the wire, you only got time to make one mental or emotional space to make one decision. Because you're probably really scrolling through social media, which is funny how even in these conditions, now everybody got time for social media. But even if you you start see who's talking about what gives you the most cognitive edge, because honestly, in that moment, you should be focused on keeping yourself sharp, because you got to come up with an idea to get you out of survival mode. You cannot let yourself escape, because you got to be sharp to start thinking about how you're gonna come up from that environment. And most of the time, that starts with how you're gonna come up on yourself, as far as how can you become more emotionally stable, like we mentioned in our last episode. That's mostly the first part. What's going to give you that mental sharpness, was going to lead to emotional sharpness, so you can think of an idea to how to come up from that environment, because you can't live like that. You can't, because
you're alive, but
you
you're not
can,
living.
you
You're
can,
alive, but you're not living.
You can, but we believe that you have a lot more potential than you realize. That's where my statement is coming from. Just want to be clear with that.
I like that. So basically telling them, choose one. If you have to choose one, what would it be? Temperature or cognitive enhancement?
No, choose one based on what's going to give you the best cognitive sharpness.
So it could be digestion or what you're eating, or
you may come across 10 sleep tips after this. But
so
which one? Maybe one said, "Oh, this one is proven to boost cognitive sharpness more than all the others." Right. Okay, go with that one.
That's the one.
Because you got to be sharp.
I like that sharpness. Okay, Mr. Dre.
I would say this, and this is from experience, and I was just kind of thinking back, as soon as you get home, we could say nutrition, but I'm gonna just kind of leave, right? We know nutrition is the key. As soon as you get home, to have the digestion, sleep better, all those things. I would say as soon as you get home, you should be programming for sleep. Like on your way home, you should be programming for sleep. Okay, I'm not going to look at social media. I'm not going to look at TV like that. I'll put on, what we do now in our household is put on Rain, right, on YouTube, and just let the rain, and we just shut the lights out, get under the covers, and that's it. And we fall asleep, and you just put away all the electronics or whatever that's a distraction, So, and then you need to relay that to your kids. Okay, it's time for sleep, kids. Right? It's time. I'm going to sleep. So I would say programming on your way home to go to sleep. Right? Putting that in your head. I need to go to sleep. I would say repeating it to yourself so you can kind of commit to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I would say that and the cognitive skills, I was thinking similar to that as well, is the first thing you do in the morning should be like important to get you through the day. So, right, we spoke about it. We all, what happens when you don't meal prep? Like you don't have no meals and you're just scrambling like, oh, damn, I ain't get, that's, if you miss your meal after training or you go hours without eating a meal, you think you're going to be able to power through the day? That's going to help your brain function, cognitive skills, and eating the right foods, right? And the lemon water, the hydration, I would say, yeah, definitely say that. And you know, on a train or your way, or listen to a nice audio book, something that kind of stimulate the mind versus music. I love listening to music, but I have to take breaks from it. And I don't care if it's 5 or 10 minutes right before I pull into the station to come here, I'll put on something like an audio book just to kind of stimulate my mind past, the aggressive stuff or the laid back stuff, just, something like that. So I'll say that's my gym.
I love that. I love that. So having a routine, that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah,
make sure you prep yourself with a routine of what your sleep is going to look like. Picking that 1 or 2 things that's going to help that cognitive aspect. I love that. For me, it's simple. Everything is about assessing. You got to see if your sleep is good or if your sleep is bad. So before we get into a routine, you got to assess yourself. How do you feel before you sleep? Assess yourself at night. I feel stomach here, I can't sleep, I'm in insomnia. You assess yourself. First, you know what's going on. Then assess yourself when you wake up. I'm still tired, I'm this, I didn't get enough sleep. Those 2 assessments, you could do a Whoop watch, and all, just do the basic assessments, how you feel before you go to bed and how you feel when you wake up, and then put yourself into the category of bad, kind of not good, or good sleep. Just those simple categories. And if you fall into the bad, right, see what you can improve on, whether it's what Nick said or whether what Dre said, before you go to bed and when you wake up, as soon as you wake up, right? It's very, very important. If it's intermediate, still see the same thing. And if it's good, keep doing what you're doing, or again, plan a routine when you're getting ready to go to sleep.
I like that. That's exactly what I had to do today. I had to assess. I got slept in, came, started at 11. At 11, they climbed. I'm like, why do I feel so fatigued? Obviously the weather's cooled down, so now we get more comfort. So that's the assessment. I know my body has to adjust. Perfect. So, even if my guys get tired, they know, okay, the weather's starting to cool down. We're starting to get into that comfort mode. So I would say, that's basically what I did. I assessed myself. I said, okay, it's the weather, obviously, because I was fine. I was able to pump through.
That's very important.
Yeah,
it's very important to identify how you feel when you wake up and how you feel before you go to bed. And then you can apply all of these tactics and methods that all can make sense. But what makes more sense to you, I'm going to stick with Nick on that cognitive level. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe. The Vitality Handbook is here to give you global awareness and to optimize your vitality. As always, let's get into it.